Hi there! In this video, we're going to talk about evaluating functions. So what does that mean? We're going to look at functions written in function notation, and we're going to evaluate them, which means to find the output. Evaluating means they're going to give you a number for the input or for your variable, and then you have to find the output. Okay, so first thing I wanted to go over is function notation. So function notation is this right here. It means that I'm going to replace y with what we call this right here. We say this right here, f of x, okay? We're giving our functions names that are letters. And this x right here is telling us that my x is going to be my input value or my independent variable. So whenever you see a y or an f of x, it really means the same thing as y. When I was in school, I didn't really understand that, and every time I saw f of x, I just replaced it with a y because it made more sense to me. So if I'm looking at these two functions right here, y equals 3x squared plus 2, and f of x equals 3x squared plus 2. The only difference is this right here, the y and the f of x. Other than that, they're really exactly the same thing because y means the same thing as f of x. So if it makes sense to you not to write out this function notation here, just replace it with a y, okay? That's really all it means. So when we're using, though, function notation, we use it to give our functions names. So if we're talking about function f or function g or function h, instead of having to say the whole function or the whole equation, I can just say, oh, well, I'm talking about function f. So it helps to organize my math, which is why we name our functions that way. So if I want to evaluate functions, I just have to look at the function name and then what number I'm supposed to plug in. So I have two examples for you. So this first one right here, I have two functions. I have a function f and I have a function g, okay? So in this first part, it says find f of -3. So that means I'm going to find my function f, this guy right here. This is my function f, -3x squared minus 2. I'm going to put in a -3 where I have an x. So I'm going to set up my skeleton. My skeleton says -3 times blank squared minus 2. What number do I plug in here? Well, they told me I have to plug in a -3. So this is going to say -3. Now I just evaluate. Okay, so I use my order of operations, my PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So first I have to do my exponents. So -3 squared is 9. Then I multiply. I'm going to kind of go this way so I don't run out of space. -3 times 9 is -27. And -27 minus 2 is -29. So f of -3 equals -29. So also know that gives you an ordered pair of -3, -29, as -3 is my input and -29 is my output. Okay, next one, g of -7. So that says I take my function g, which is this guy over here, 4x to the third. Okay, now I'm going to use this function and I'm going to plug in my value of x, which is -7. So I'm going to set up my skeleton, 4 blank to the third. And what number am I plugging in my x? I'm plugging in -7. Okay, now -7 to the third power. You might not know that. You can use a calculator. So -7 to the third power, which really just means 7 times 7. -7 times -7 times -7 is -343. And then I have to multiply times 4. So I get -1,372. So when I plug in -7, I get -1,372. Okay, that's my ordered pair. -7 is my input, -1372 is my output. Okay, last example. Here I have two more functions, f and g. My function f now says f of x equals 2x squared minus 3x, and my function g says g of x equals -3x minus 1. So my first one here says find f of -4. It means I use my function f, this guy, and I plug in a -4 wherever I have an x. So I'm going to set up my skeleton. 2 times blank squared minus 3 times blank. What's going in my blanks? -4. -4, -4. So now I evaluate. Do my squareds first. -4 squared is 16. Then I multiply. 2 times 16 gives me 32. -3 times -4 is positive 12. And 32 plus 12 is equal to 44. So when I plug in -4, I get out positive 44. And my last one, g of 2, I'm going to move this down just a little so we have some space. I'm going to use my function g. This guy right here, -3x minus 1. -3 times blank minus 1. I am plugging in, whoops, sorry about that. I am plugging in a 2 for my value of x. So here becomes a 2, and I multiply. -3 times 2 is -6, and -6 minus 1 is -7. So that means when I plug in 2, I get -7. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.